There are two big things at the moment. In this we were just talking in the green room about mental health and emotional health. And Pastor Mildred and I were having a little conversation, Pastor Kings, Pastor Don, about the fact that in this day and age, 2024, some of you come from psychotherapy backgrounds, you're mental health experts, so you'll be aware of some of this stuff, that in the last 7 to 8 years, there's roughly another 100 to 150 more anxiety disorders that are being highlighted. Strangely, 2 of those we've talked about in church here before, so the members of our church, they'll know about this. But one's called anoptophobia, one's called gamophobia. Anoptophobia really, they say, tends to be something they're seeing rising with women. And anoptophobia is the fear of remaining single. Gamophobia, they're saying they've seen existing in men, which is the fear of commitment. These things are rising rapidly. Push your neighbor and say, he's not talking about you tonight. Go on. But these 2 fears are rising rapidly. Now, here's the thing. Fear is an intoxicant. Fear is an intoxicant. Fear can make you drunk. And when you're drunk, you don't see right, you don't hear right, you don't talk right, you don't do right. You're imbalanced. And in a generation where we're seeing so many imbalanced things happening, especially in how people are pursuing, dating, trying to find the right person, in your experience and having traveled around now, how would you advise, what would you say to the singles in terms of the key things they need to be looking for, contrary to what the culture's telling them?
Okay.
Pastor Mildred just passed that straight to you.
Yes. I would say, number one, try not to be in dating mode all the time. When you are single, sometimes at this stage, you are looking at everybody from the lens of potential date. And that kind of prolongs or even hinders you from finding, those special people, because you are going through people very quickly just on the basis of, is he a potential or she a potential? And if the answer is no, then you are no more invested. And that's what we talked about not having a social sphere or social circle, not having friends. Stop seeing people from the light of dating alone. See people from the light, from the lens of kindness. So this means whoever comes across your life, treat them kindly, whether they are eligible or not. Because sometimes the person you are meeting is not the one you are going to marry. They are just going to be the bridge to the person. But you see, if you quickly look at them and assess them and say, I can't marry this guy, you find out that naturally you're not going to be invested. You're not picking calls. You're not responding kindly. Rebecca in the Bible that Isaac eventually married, she was kind to a guy that was not eligible, was an old slave. So she knew she was not going to marry this guy, but she was kind to this guy, gave his camels water and all that. Then the guy eventually linked. Same thing with the Ruth and Boaz story we always share. Ruth was looking at her mother-in-law with the eyes of kindness. And that was the link to who she married. So many times we think God is delaying. No, stop looking at everybody from the eyes of dating. All right? Be a kind person. Be a friendly person. Sometimes that person that is not eligible will connect you to the one that is eligible. All right? So another thing to do, please keep it decent. Keep the friendships decent. So many people, their status is showing single, but their body is showing engaged, showing busy. So keeping those friendships decent makes it easy for that friendship to birth something, or in terms of a connection. But you see, if you treat everything sexually or in a dating mode, you would date someone that tomorrow you want to marry their sibling. You will have sex. And Pastor, on my job, I have counseled quite a few people that have told me I want to marry the elder brother, but I have slept with the younger brother. I've met a couple of those things. So they are both in love today, but the reason why they can't marry is because they have had something with a cousin or a sibling or something like that. So, keep it decent and look at life from the eyes of kindness, not from the eyes of dating.
Kindness is important as well, because sometimes, I've read books. There's books I've read today, this day and age, at this age, that I also read when I was 19 and thought they were rubbish. So sometimes it's important to keep the kindness as well, because you might not have been ready at that time. And you can come full circle, meet that person again where you're both in a different stage of life.
Yes.
You've both become mature, healthy, and that can blossom into something.
Totally.
But nowadays, we cancel everything.
Yes.
Anytime a relationship ends, that person's an idiot, they're a cow, they're a this, they're a that, and worse, rather than us keeping things whole. Pastor Mildred, I feel something brewing over there.
I was just thinking about us and the beginning stages, and I was just thinking, for the single person, I would say be careful about your lists and about friend zoning a potential husband. So I would say be careful of your list, because when we met, I had this list. I told God I would do anything and marry anyone except someone who's a pastor, someone who's hairy. And as I say it, Pastor Mike's is going like, are you kidding me? You're literally describing him. Someone from the Igbo-speaking part of Nigeria, and someone who's fair in complexion. I had this whole, he has to be tall, dark, and handsome. I don't want someone who's hairy, because I'm hairy. I don't want to have gorilla babies.
Did you just say gorilla babies? That's funny.
It came out. Sometimes it comes out. I try to behave, but sometimes just. And I didn't want to marry a pastor, because I didn't think I was pastor's wife material. I just felt pastor's wife should be soft-spoken, gentle. And that's what I saw growing up. I saw them with big hearts and always saying, bless you, never showing that they're offended, never showing that they're upset. So I just felt I couldn't do this. I really couldn't. If someone upsets me, I want to pull your hair out and still be okay, right? Bring out the whip like Jesus did and still preach a sermon after. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't just sit pretty in church and something's wrong, not get to it. And that's what I saw growing up, pastors were. But everything I didn't want was literally what God wrapped up for me and gave to me. And so I always say to young people, at least in recent times, instead of the list, let God make you an offer. What God will offer you will always be better than what you think you want. At some point, God started asking me, and I would meditate on this a lot. What do you really want in a marriage? What kind of marriage do you want? That defines what kind of person you should end up with. And one of the things I knew I wanted a friend. I wanted someone who was my guy, like my friend. Like we could have those moments. I don't know if we have a lot of those romantic, look into each other's eyes. There was a magazine back home that came to do a couple shoot on us, and they were saying we should look into each other's eyes and, link our hands together, feed each other food and wine. And we were trying, to be honest, we were trying so hard. And as we were trying to do it, and I'm looking at Pastor K say, so these things, you really like this? I'm like, don't make me laugh. We're supposed to be looking at each other. Look into my eyes. Can't you look into my eyes? Tell me. We're looking really silly. Until we went outside, and then he still used to ride power bikes, and his power bike was outside. And then the lady asked, you ride? I was like, yeah. So he got on and I got behind him, and then he just got a shot, and I was like, this is what I've been saying to you guys all along. Right? We don't do the romantic, but I wanted somebody who's my friend. Someone I could play with, laugh with, talk about everything with. That's the kind of marriage. I didn't want to do marriage, right? Yeah. I wanted to just have a great time, live with my best friend, and hang out all day, have sex, and do other things that, right? It's just putting it out there. And God, and God, and God gave me everything I wanted.
So you had a list.
Oh, I had a
At
list.
what let me talk to as a woman. I want to just stick with you for a moment. You and Pastor Don. As women, at what stage should a woman start reflecting on her list? Because I've heard some women say they had a criteria. I call it the must-haves and the nice-to-haves.
Yeah.
And then as they age, because obviously women have biological clocks, there's a whole time thing going. At what stage should they adjust that list? So, it was tall, dark, handsome, all his teeth. Now it's just teeth. What?
Oh God, I thought about something now. Look, I'm really careful about that list. I'm not such a big fan of lists because it didn't work for me, right?
Right.
So I'm not such a huge fan. I just know that there are some things that should be your non-negotiable.
Yes.
For me, it had to be Christian. I couldn't marry any other person. I just couldn't do it. I don't know how people do it, right? I couldn't marry a Christian. I want someone that I can talk to, he gets it.
Okay.
I want the same spirit in my house. I want to raise my children to love God, and we both get it. We can study the word, we can pray together. If something's going on, he can pray with me. And I don't want to lower my voice in the morning because he's sleeping, and he considers my praying in tongues noise. I really just wanted the atmosphere of Christian.
That's deep.
Also didn't want to marry a man that was lazy. I can't deal with that. I can adjust to a lot of things, but I want a lazy man. Definitely not a mentally lazy man. So Pastor K is not very hands-on when it comes to work, like housework or anything. But he will come up with ways to get it done.
That's done? Done.
And I'm good with that.
I feel something brewing to my left.
I'm good with that.
I didn't actually have a list. I've never had a list. I'm going to be honest. I wasn't that fussed about getting married. I wasn't that fussed about anything, about traveling, living my life, and just really enjoying myself. And although, obviously, you've got me, there was a lot of interest from other guys, and I was like, no, I just mean, like how they used to do it back in the day, send note via the ushers and say, oh.
That's churchy.
Say, oh, can I talk to you? And I would send message back saying, don't mistreat the ushers. This is not what they're there for. But, I don't think I ever had a list. But as Pastor Mildred said, there are some things in people in general.
You were quite angry at men.
Oh, yeah, I was very angry at men.
Based on your background as well, from what we talked about.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
I had to climb through some hurdles, fam.
He was persistent. But I think that's right. Not just with your life partner, but with people in general, even with your friendship circles. There are some people I'm not hanging with because of the way that they behave or their, the way that they carry on. That I'm like, you do you, but there's some things I'm not negotiating on. I'm not hanging in this kind of environment if you're going to behave like that. I don't like people that are horrible to other people for no apparent reason and try and put people down. So, it's things like that. So it just so happened you're like that anyway, but it's not that I had a list for that. And sometimes I think
so it's character traits.
Character traits in general in people, but that it translates to whoever you end up being interested in or who those interested in you. But I never had a long list of, if he's tall, if he's short, if he's younger, if he's older. I didn't have that. This one took me by surprise. But there are some things that you're not going to negotiate on. You're not going to. I would never, just because I thought, oh my gosh, everyone's getting married. I must be one of the only young people left in the church that is not married. I'm talking back in the day. And I wouldn't just say, oh, I know this person's not nice to people, but I'll just be with them anyway, just so that I can be with them. There are some things, as Pastor Mildred said, you're not going to negotiate on. And that's the way I've lived my life. And I think, it's important that you know what's important to you, what can you live with and what can't you live with, what will drive you mad and what will just not work with you and for you.
And the problem is, going back to what I said earlier about me search, you won't know that if you don't know yourself. No. So there's no point in researching someone else if you don't know yourself first. Know yourself. So listen, we're going to do some Q&A. Team, if you get your mics ready or whatever you're going to do. And we take some questions, and then I think you've got a second mixer. Somebody tell me what's going on, please. I think, guys, gang, you have a second mixer. So you're going to do Q&A. Any questions you want to throw up at us? Those of you who are serious about trying to walk forward, finding the right person, have questions about what marriage is like or how our dating journey worked, throw them up. You've got Pastor Kingsley and Pastor Mildred with Solomonic levels of wisdom up here. Just walk out and come to the front, come to the microphone and ask. Come on up, come on up, come on up, come on up, come on up.
All right.
You got mics to the left and to the right.
Someone come up.
You good, guys?
Anyone's got any questions to ask, if you could just line up at the mic right here.
And I
Crystal?
believe our online crew, all those watching online, virtual attendees, we're going to do you guys afterwards.
Okay, so Pastor, we have a question.
Just give us your name and your question.
1, 2. Hello?
Hey, shh. Hey, guys. Go ahead, brother.
Thank you. So my name's Jesse.
Hey, Jesse, big
Hi
up.
there. So the question I've got is, during the whole dating, engagement stage, how do you come to the point of knowing when something's a compromise, when something's a sacrifice, and when something is you changing who you are? So there could be things, for example, let's say church, for example. We have to go to this church, but it could be a case that could be a different church that God's calling you to. Living, for example, we have to live near family, live away from family. How do you know you're either sacrificing or compromising that? Or how do you know that, you know what, it's not that big of a deal for one person, but the other person, it is. There are many things, that come up. But the things that aren't just for we're dating, we're engaged, that stage, the things that affect the marriage, how do you differentiate, you know what, I'll compromise on this, or this is something that I need to sacrifice as a man, or as a woman, they need to sacrifice.
Thank you, Jesse. Pastor Kings, you go. Pastor Bill just spoke last time. Come on now.
Yeah, I wish we had more details. I'm sure they would vary based on, how important the things are to both parties. But I would say, as a general rule, God's word comes first. So if, for instance, the word of God says we should worship this way, for instance, and that person wants to practice a totally different kind of worship, or is not even interested in church, but the Bible is clear, we shouldn't forsake the assembling together. So if it's something clearly spelled out in the word, then that should be easy. Now, after that level, then this is where both of you, in fact, it's a good practice for what you're going to do in marriage. Because even when you do get married, there will still be a lot of issues that will come up. So if you guys can't, agree together on these issues now before marriage, that in itself should be either a red or a green flag for you. All right? Because in marriage, that's what we do. We juggle life and we make decisions together. So it's a good practice for you. And if you feel like, I think Pastor Donna mentioned the must-haves or the nice-to-have, something like that. So if it's something that is compromising something that is very vital to you as a person, that settles it. Like, before I met my wife, I met some other ladies that I felt, oh, nice lady. But when we began to talk, the direction they were going with their lives, totally different from where I was going. So, there's no hard feelings. I just knew, okay, this can't go beyond friendship. So the vitals are there. If you guys can't agree on some of those things, that in itself is a pointer that, you should reconsider the whole decision.
And I think on that point, the word Pastor Kingsley just used, vital. I think just like in a body, for a body to function, there are vital organs, okay? And there are some things that are going to be vital for the survival of a relationship. And if you can't come to an agreement on how those things work, then that's a red flag. So you've got to identify the vital things. Does that make sense?
Just to jump onto that, will that mean you need to find these things out before the relationship, or what happens when you find them out during?
That's part of the dating, and this is the problem. I wouldn't even ordain the language of relationship just yet. Talk about as you're going out, and this is what I'm trying to say, this generation today, we're so enamored by the occasion and the romanticism and what kind of restaurant was it and how sexy was her dress. We teach women in this church, our daughters, spiritual daughters here, we say to them, look, when you're going out, look nice. Make sure you look nice, of course, if you're going out on a date. But don't try and look too sexy, because men can get drunk on that. And men start telling you anything. He's an Uber driver and he'll tell you he's a pilot. Okay? Because of the we're looking at hills and valleys, you know? And so it's... So when you're going out on these, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever dates, it's about gleaning that information, finding out what's your definition of husband, what's your definition of wife? Because just because we use the same language doesn't mean we mean the same thing. Yeah. What's your definition of love? What's your best example of a couple? What couple in your life would you say? These are the kind of questions we should be asking. Who's the greatest? It's my uncle. It wasn't my mum and dad, because my mum and dad weren't together, but my uncle and Auntie Jane and Uncle Jeffrey. They're just amazing when I see them. That's now telling me, so you have actually got something healthy that you may have seen in terms of what a couple should look like. But if they can't tell, well, I don't know, because man, I don't know, man, them, all this, it's just vague. Then it's like, well, that's a red flag already. We need to slow the car down. Does that make sense? So during your dating stages, it's about gleaning as much data as possible and talking about the things that you know are vital to the relationship, any relationship surviving, but also that are vital to you. And you won't know what's vital to you until you do some research. Nobody should be going on dates unless they know them. Date you first. Get data on yourself. Make sense? Big up. Bless up, Jesse.
Good evening.
God bless you, darling.
Hi, I'm Rosina, everybody.
Hey, Rosina, how you doing?
So my question, how raw can I get? I can get raw, innit? I can get raw, right? Yeah, I can get raw.
How many pages of questions have you got?
Wow.
We got hundreds of people in the room, but go ahead. Bless you.
So how did you, what would you recommend to manage your libidinous drive? It's hard. You can pray and fast, but, whilst you're dating someone in particular, things are going well, and your flesh is weak. The Bible talks about your flesh being weak. So there's a lot of chat, oh Lord. Sorry, mother. No. But realistically, how did you do it, and what would you give in terms of tips? Thank you.
You guys want to take one? You want Pastor Mildred?
Sorry, I didn't quite.
While you all are discussing.
I went swimming. Used energy in a different way. You strip off, but you know.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But it's a very, very important question. You've got to try and not put yourself in environments as well where, back in the day, we would have had to have had chaperones. Now you can go out on your own. We couldn't go to the cinema because obviously it was dark at the back. Now you sit at everywhere in the cinema
this is
traditional. And so way back. So obviously it was, we were never left alone, were we? There was always people around. But the important thing is to try and put yourself in environments where you're not going to go to, or come to my house, or let's go to my house and stay there and say, let's watch a movie together, let's snuggle up, as much as that's beautiful and lovely, you know where that can lead if you both know what you both want. Especially also, as Pastor Kingsley said, especially if you've not decided this is the one. Because what may happen is that you and the next person may go and have full blown-on sex and then realize, not necessarily full blown-on sex, but, come in... Yeah, I went there, the habit is real, and then realised that oh, but we're not for each other, and then realise you've known somebody quite intimately. And so you have to be strategic. You know, you have to be practical and strategic and go swimming and swim enough lengths.
Look, the fact is, I wanted to have lots of sex with Pastor Donna, even as a pastor, when we were dating.
That's why I've done a lot of swimming.
Yeah, you know, she's sexy, she's curvaceous. I'm a man, I'm a red-blooded man. And though I'm spiritual, I've also got physicality. And I fancied the pants off of her. And seeing her walking around and having that drive, it was there. But you don't pray for the drive to go.
No.
Because if God honors your prayer, you're going to have to pray for it to come back if the two of you get together. So these are natural drives, sexual drives. Let's not spookify them. Let's not mystify them. Let's not weirdify them, if I could coin a phrase. It's just about being wise, putting barriers in place, remaining true to your convictions, and not being silly. Not being silly. If we're alone till midnight, wrapping up, cuddling up, watching movies, something's going to happen. If I'm aroused, I'm going to want to follow through on that. I'm not Joseph. Those of you who know your Bible, Joseph in the Bible ran and, okay. So rather than try and be Joseph, just don't put myself in that predicament. If I want to honor my faith and honor my convictions and retain the sanctity of what could be when we finally do get together. So I'll say that, and then I'll hand over to, I know Pastor Kingsley and Pastor Mildred are having a big discussion over it, so there's some revelation about to come.
No deep revelations. I would just say boundaries, of course. You know, make sure you have boundaries. Accountability. Like they said, don't just put yourself in funny situations. You know, people always just think they're strong. You're never as strong as you think. A lot of people who are virgins today is because they didn't put themselves in those kind of weird situations. I also think that it takes two people to make it easy. Both of you have to agree, you know, that this is what we want. So we had certain agreements that made it kind of easy for us. When I'm in his house, we're visiting, I don't go anywhere beyond the sitting room. Doors are wide open. I mean, it seemed crazy at the time, but it was what would work for us. Doors shut meant we could do anything. If I say, let me just go upstairs and drop something in your bedroom, I can just decide to stay in the bedroom as well. So it made sense for us to just, these are the boundaries. They were tough because, yes, of course, we found each other attractive, but we did what we needed to do. We did a lot of dating in public, you know. Go to restaurants. You're not going to have sex right there on the table. Don't go to the bathroom at the same time in the restaurant. You know, some of these things, they may seem like you're overdoing it, but you have to overdo it to be safe. And then just put the testimony you want in front of you, that's all.
And then, Pastor Mildred, you know what I found as well? People forget about day dates. Everything has to be in the dead of night when we're all tired now and your defenses are lower. You know, we put ourselves in such crazy predicaments.
I don't even think we did any night dates.
You didn't do any night dates?
No.
Or all of your dates were day?
Yeah, most of them. Maybe
Most of
two.
them.
We had maybe like two or was one. That one where you changed my phone. I think that was the only one. We did mostly day dates. Doesn't remember anything. Literally doesn't remember.
My own advice would be don't start dating if you're not ready to get married.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Some people date for too long, you know, in a relationship for too long. When the Bible was talking about purity and all that, if you look at it, they were not really factoring in or thinking that we'll be single at the ages we are being single.
Yes.
If you look at how old Mary was when she conceived Jesus, she was about 13 or thereabout. So when you are 33, your hormones and the kind of exposure we have today, it's not the same. So get married as fast as you can. Don't start a relationship. Yes. Part of how God protects us from sexual immorality is marriage. It's there in Scripture. Instead of you to born, He says you should marry. So if you are staying single as a guy, you know, 35, 40, it's going to be difficult to cope in this world we live in. That's the truth. Because you are being bombarded. You are being bombarded literally on every medium with sexuality. So it's going to be difficult. So and you have access to this thing. So don't start a relationship if you're not ready to get married. Don't do 3 years, 4 years relationship. The same person. It's like looking at your favorite meal for 3 years and you're asked not to eat it, not to have any of it, you know. So it doesn't make any sense. So marry as fast as you can, basically.
There is no pill. There is no control my libido pill. And sometimes Christians ask questions like that because there is a tension, there's a struggle. We're human beings, but there is no pill. It's just about being wise, putting boundaries in place, thanking God that you have a drive, and not asking him to remove the drive, but managing yourself as best as possible. You know, it's fascinating. There's people who are very disciplined when it comes to the gym. They're very disciplined. No, they meal prep and they make sure I'm not going to eat that. You've got to convert that into your spirituality, in terms of what your convictions are. Does that make sense? Yeah. Thank you so much. Did you have another question?
Can I just quickly add this before you leave? It's also important that you understand that discipline or self-control is not just for single people.
Right.
Marriage doesn't take away those sexual drives. You will still be attracted to other people. It takes discipline to say, I'm not going to cheat on my husband, no matter how attractive this person is. Yes, marriage doesn't cure it. So you practice now, and the skills you learn now, the self-control you have now, will still help you in marriage.
I think before we go into that was an outstanding point to raise amongst singles. Because singles oftentimes think that once you're married, that's it now. And this is actually a dress rehearsal for when you are married. And listen to the silence. They're like, oh. So actually, it's worth the pursuit of learning how to control and be disciplined in your single days. Absolutely, I love that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Can we take an online question?
You're the boss.
So it says, how do you navigate if the person you admire has everything you desire in a wife, but you are not physically attracted to them?
You want to go?
Okay.
So, guys, let's hear from Pastor Kingsley first. Go ahead, sir.
All right. We must first understand that attraction is not only physical. So I think generally in the younger generation, you are so bombarded with physical attraction and you think that's all that matters. What you need to realize is that nobody remains the same physically all through their lives. You need to just know that. At least you saw Pastor Mike's picture when he was single.
This guy. This guy, man.
No, but
we were trying to get a picture of you and Pastor Mildred, fam.
We hit that, you know. So I didn't look like this 20 years ago. Yeah. But the point is that we are going to go through different, phases physically. So attraction is not just physical. There is spiritual attraction, there's mental attraction, and stuff like that. So in your case, you've mentioned that you like other things except physical. Now, sometimes you become friends with someone first, and later you begin to find them physically attractive. So I would say in this case, give the person a chance to know them, to relate with them. Now, if after relating with them, you still don't like them at all physically, you're not attracted to them at all physically, then that can mean, maybe you should look somewhere else, because at least to you, the person has to look good to you. Now, what I would say to add to that is that we have to also make sure, Pastor Mike has been talking about research, you have to make sure what you are measuring as beauty is the right, parameters. Because sometimes we've watched so many movies or idolized a certain person so much, and we are comparing every other person with that person. So if that person doesn't meet that standard, we just think they are not handsome or they are not pretty. So I need to know what you are comparing, in your mind. All right? Because some people, I've met a lot of people, Pastor Mike, that have said, oh, I don't find this person attractive. And the person is gorgeous.
Yeah.
But because they have an image in their mind. So sometimes you need to just heal your own mind.
Yeah.
All right? But aside that, talk to them. Create some friendship and see if anything will come up. If it doesn't come up after a long time, then I think, you need to think twice about it.
Interestingly, that was our story. I didn't find him attractive at all when I met him. At all.
Thank you, Pastor Mildred, for that, because
I tell her she wasn't wearing her glasses.
I need some help, right?
Please, don't let me pull up those pictures. Please. Pastor K looked nothing like this. Yes. When we got married was when I made him grow an afro, made him grow a beard. He put on some weight. He didn't look anything like this. So I didn't find him attractive.
So you've shaped him?
Yes.
I helped.
Yes.
I helped. But I didn't find him attractive. But, like he said, if you give someone a chance and you really get to know them before you judge them. Remember, I had things in my head.
Yeah.
He wasn't dark. So he just did. So my brain was resisting it. I wasn't finding him attractive because there were certain things that I wanted and I wasn't seeing it. So I had to give him a chance. I had to get to know him. And then when we became real friends, I found out, what was I thinking? This guy actually is cute. So, it's the friendship, getting to know someone.
Yeah.
Just give them a chance first.
Yeah.
If after that you don't find them attractive at all, then I'll say let it go. Because I don't believe you should hold on to someone and make them feel like you're doing them a favor, when there'll be someone out there who is literally gushing over them. So if you don't like them, let them go. I think it's selfish people who do that.
Yeah.
I don't find them attractive, but I find everything else. Let them go.
Well, I mean, I love those perspectives. I think those perspectives are great. Pastor Donna and I have had these kind of questions before as well. And for me, it goes back to number one as well, in addition to what's been said, what your must-haves, my online people whoever online asked that, your must-haves and your nice-to-haves. Because if the lady has got all of the traits that are your must-haves and the physicality is just a nice-to-have, then that answers your question. I want to also say that I think that the transition of getting to know somebody, as Pastor Kingsley and Pastor Mildred were saying, and then eventually you find as you go out on those dates, you actually start becoming more physically attractive, often works. But for men in particular, not only, I want to put a footnote in there, but in particular, that visualization is very important for a lot of men. But men often don't actually do what, I love the fact that question has come from a man. Because men often don't look at that. They're so enamored by whether or not the person's visual that they don't even consider the other attributes. But I think what's critical is, going back to the headline, knowing what are your must-haves and what are that would be nice to have. If she had curves, she had a big bum, she had, a pretty face, whatever it might be, whatever your visuals are. If that's just a nice to have, then to me it sounds like you found somebody who's really worth considering. And I dare say the fact that you've asked that question probably means that the other traits are more of your must-haves. So don't throw away what could be gold. Give it a chance. My host, who's next? Who's next?
Evening, everyone. So my name is Aisha.
Aisha, bless you.
So my original question I was going to ask, the reason why I'm not going to ask it is because none of your situations mirror that. So I think that it would possibly, you find it difficult to answer because it was based on children before being with your partner. So the other question I'm going to ask is...
Well, you've raised the question, so ask.
Okay.
Give an opinion. Aisha, what's going on, fam? Just ask the question.
So, obviously, I've got children and I don't want any more. I'm concerned, obviously, that that's going to block my potential husband because my initial question, I went and sat next to a male and my question was, how old are you? What do you do? Do you have kids? Do you want kids? The minute he said yes, I was like, yep, done. I don't want to have no more of a conversation. Obviously, somewhat non-negotiable, but how would you say it would be best to navigate that in a more subtle way without being too masculine and putting forward that this is not my situation? Also, to obviously open up myself to be able to date properly without feeling the pressure of having to conceive, like I'm a walk-in oven to have more children. Yeah, obviously you guys are married and you already had children, so the situation's a bit dynamic, but what would you advise?
Okay,
I guess we go first.
Okay, yeah, how many children do you have?
Right, that's a techie one. 4. If you must know, my eldest will be 16, second's almost 13, third is 6, daughters 4, 3 sons and a daughter. So you can imagine my son is taller than some of these men that are in here, which is also a techie situation.
Thank you for your question, first of all, and for being upfront with it. Come on, give her a round of applause. Because that was the real question you wanted to ask. The other one was my mum would call it a mek question. Thank God for that question. Go ahead, brother.
So I was also going to ask, do you want someone who doesn't have any kids and doesn't want any?
So my ideal would be you either have children and you don't want any more, or you don't want children at all.
Okay. So the truth is that there's always someone out there for you. I don't think, I know someone who had 2 already, and she met a guy who couldn't. Okay. You know, and they did fine together. I really believe that there's no scarcity with God. I believe it with all my heart. And if God made you and gave you all these children and you don't want any more, I think that God can satisfy the desires of your heart. There's someone out there, you just need to find him. And if you do believe that God does miracles and you believe that he loves you enough to make sure that all your needs are met, then I believe that at the end of whatever time it is that you and God have to work this out, that it will happen for you. So I don't think it's unusual. I don't even think it's ridiculous. I think it's what you want, and he will grant you desires of your heart. So put yourself out there and believe.
Aisha, I also think that you need to be upfront. I think that if you want to find that kind of person, you need to be upfront with that information so that you can sift through nonsense straight away. I don't think that's something to hide. I think you honor your own children by doing that as well. So I think you need to be upfront and be quite frank about if you're definitely decided that's your position, that it's a non-negotiable. You don't want any more children, but you're open to somebody who has children so that the two of you can have what we call a blended family, then that's fine. But you need to be upfront with that if you're going out on dates or if somebody asks you on a date so that you can sift through that. Because part of your question was about should you be bringing that up without it sounding, I think you said techie or whatever it might be.
Techie, to be exact.
Techie, okay, thank you. Forgive my phraseology, I apologize. But yeah, so I would bring that up straight away and get to the point. Pastor Kingsley.
Yeah, but have you had people that came into your life but wanted kids and that was the reason the relationship didn't go forward?
Yeah. So everything else was fantastic, but they wanted children. And obviously, with men, like you said, they get drunk on all of the visuals and all that. No, it's fine. I'm not going to change my mind. You will. You're going to change your mind. And I don't want to be in a situation where now I've got to make a decision because of an accident where I'm now left with that burden and you've wasted all this time being with that person and build a connection. So I had to cut that off and I'd wasted like a year and a bit.
What I would suggest is, when we talk about love and about marriage, it's not just about you. It's about serving some other person also. So, I wish we could just all sit down and create a scenario we want. But that's not marriage. It's 2 people. So, when you really find someone you love and the person loves you, I think you should not totally close the option of compromise. That's what I think.
That's a big compromise.
Oh yes, that's marriage. Another word for marriage is compromise.
You know that you actually can't carry any kids, Pastor. So obviously, when you say that as a man,
well, stay
so
single.
Let me say that. No, so let me say something. So do you want? So you won't mind a man that is going to help with the kids, right?
I'm not asking for that.
So now we're talking.
I'm not asking for that. actually.
What I'm saying is that when you come with your own demands,
Yeah,
this guy too is going to come with his own demands.
yeah.
And that's what makes a marriage. It's not only about what you want. That's what
Compromise on
I'm
a child. Ooh, that's heavy. I hear
Aisha,
you.
if that's your non-negotiable,
Then it's done.
then you have to remain single until somebody comes along. But you need to be upfront so you can sift through and get to the person who's open to that.
All right.
Pastor Kingsley's point is, in my opinion, is extremely wise in terms of you open to compromise. But if you're listening to your resistance to it, it sounds to us like that's a non-negotiable for you. And we're not here to try and change your mind on that. So you remain single until. But listen, you'll shorten those single days if you're upfront without allowing guys to come into your life who will waste your time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Bless you, darling. Bless you, darling. Bless you.
Okay, Pastor, we have a
How
question.
many more are we taking?
Just taking my one. Gentleman over there.
2 more?
Yeah.
3 more. 3, I think that's all right. Go ahead.
2.
Go ahead, brother.
So, Pastor, it's just one from here.
Let's do those afterwards, because that way we can deal with the people in the house and we can do the online ones afterwards, yeah? Okay. I'm putting pastoral privilege on that. Bless you. Go ahead, guys.
Good evening, pastors. Thank you for coming here today.
Bless you. Brother, I'm looking at you wishing I put on a suit today. Love it.
Just coming for work.
Love
No,
it.
thank you for making this safe space for us. My name is Ezekiel, and the question that I have today is, if you were single again, know what you know now about marriage, what's the biggest lesson that you teach yourself?
It's a good question.
Very good. Wow.
You want to go? You want to go, Beth?
There'd be so many things, but wow. I think I would have got some therapy and counselling early on, as a single person, to deal with some of my own issues that I had from my soil. And in this church, we talk about soil being your start out in life, and some of the issues that were dragged into the marriage because of certain things. I think knowing now, and obviously it's only once you were married and these things were raised, that you realise, oh my gosh, if only I had done something about it beforehand. So if I know now, and magically I went through the Stargate back in time or something, and we went, we started, I would say to myself, you need therapy, you need to deal with some of those issues that are going to affect, maybe not the start when it's the honeymoon period and the romance period, but later on in life, some things are going to happen that you need to be able to understand why you behave the way you do, why you may think the way you do, why you act the way you do. Pastor Kingsley said it's not that I was trying to come out and be horrible to Pastor and say, right, today I'm going to make his life hell. But there were some things in me that needed to be dealt with. So I would personally get therapy for some of the issues I had gone through as a young woman. That's me personally.
Pastor Mildred and Kingsley.
You want to say something? Well, basically, I was already kind of a relationship coach before I got married, so I was already putting a lot of the things I teach today in practice. So for one, find where you're going in life. You need a purpose for life before you get a partner for life. All right? So when you know where you're going, it determines the kind of person you want to go with you. Develop yourself spiritually and mentally and in every area. Your single years are not the years you used to prepare for marriage. They are the years you used to prepare for life. So prepare for your finances, prepare yourself mentally, prepare yourself spiritually. When I met my wife, one of the first things she told me, even before we started a relationship, was that doctors had told her she might never have children because of medical conditions she had. So, but right there and then, I told her, we're going to have children. And let's name our children. Why? I had developed myself spiritually enough to know by God's word that none shall be barren in the land. So it wasn't that day I began to develop faith. I already knew where I was going. And ask her, she still reminded me some days ago, all the things we're doing today, I told her before we got married that we're going to be flying around the world. We're going to preach around the world. We're going to do so. Everything we're doing today, I told her that time. All right? And she was the first person I ever dated because I knew the kind of person I was looking for. I met a lot of wonderful people, but I never took it to another level because I knew what I was looking for. So do the research like Pastor has been talking about all day. That will help you know the kind of person you want. And if you've perfected the research, you don't need more than 1 or 2 conversations to know if this should be friendship or this should be something else. All right, so for me, it's, those things.
I think I would say be the kind of person that the kind of person you want would want.
Yes.
So I always tell single people this, especially when we're maybe in clarity sessions, we have a client. I would say to them, write a list, of the things you want in your partner. Before you start, just write the person, like my future spouse, and write rich, handsome, smart, whatever. Then cancel that name and put your name on it. Ask yourself, am I this person? Or am I the person this person would like? Now, in marriage, I wish I had taken the time to really, do a lot more research. I did a lot of my growing in marriage. And I wish some of those things I had done them beforehand. I had anger issues before I got married. I wish I had dealt with that. I had almost an approval addiction, right? I wanted to be everything, and if I wasn't careful, I would have built an altar around him. I would have made an idol of him. So have a life, outside of the relationship. People are so focused on relationship. People want to get married. Enjoy your life, right? Travel, read books. I read a lot. I had, have rich relationships. Those are some of the relationships that will sustain you even in marriage. So have healthy relationships, do more of your research, get to know yourself, and learn to say no. I think that's the one thing that I didn't do enough of. I spent giving myself to people, and if you're not careful, that will also affect you in marriage. You must know when to say no. You must have healthy boundaries. Know when it's time for you to recover and rest. Because marriage will pull you on every level. So you need to know yourself, know what you can take and what you can't.
Yeah. I love it. You hear it a lot. You hear it. I said a lot. Be the person you're looking for would be looking for. Absolutely. And mold yourself into that shape. And for me, I think maybe I idealized. I didn't realize my personal situation was so special, so different, in the fact that I grew up in a very traditional home with an alpha male, protective, providing, educated black man as a husband. That's my dad, and a very ultra feminine homemaker as a wife. And then I didn't realize how much that would influence my expectations when I walked forward, and not realizing not everybody comes from that, And so I think I came into the relationship with high expectations. So maybe as I reflect, I don't want to overlap what everybody else has said. So I'll just say, for me, I agree with what everybody said. I'd have probably done the same thing, but also taken time to recognize how my own situation is going to influence my expectations. Does that make sense?
Yes. Thank you.
Bless you, brother.
Yes, it's my turn. Can everyone hear me?
Hey, guys.
Okay, hi, guys. I'm Michael. Pastors, thank you very much for your time. Really, I wanted to know if you could speak to the climate that we're currently in, which is very different to how you guys got together, which is, we're obviously, people are working from home, people on social media, the Bible talks about guarding the eyes. It's very easy to kind of cover what you see online. And essentially, I just wondered if you think social media is a wise thing to have or not when you're in the pursuit of a relationship and also sustaining your marriage. Do you think social media is... Can I just give a quick context, because I can see Pastor Mike just about to jump in.
No, I'm looking. I just read it. That's Dubai Mike, right?
Yeah.
Well, you got suntan.
Yeah, man. Man.
That's what big news.
Back it out a bit.
I was realizing that. The lights are on us, so it's hard to see.
Okay.
I'm like, that looks like Mike, but I'm sure it's in Dubai. Bless you.
Yeah, man, bless you.
Welcome home, brother. Welcome home.
Thank you, Pastor. So, yeah, essentially, the climate that we're in is kind of difficult. And in a way... Oh, the context. Thank you, bro. Thank you. So the context is that you're kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place because you feel like you need to be online in order to meet people. But at the same time, when you're online, it's kind of easy to dash people away or just quickly, you know what, they don't tickle my fancy, so whatever. So that longevity of building isn't really there. So I just wondered if you could speak to what we're facing as a generation.
Pastor Kings?
Okay. Online is the new mainline.
Yeah.
So I don't think anybody should be asking whether they should be online today, especially after COVID and all that. Everything is happening online. So you should definitely be active online, but again, you should moderate it because it can be consuming, like you mentioned. So keep it to the things that are important. So if you're a Christian single, definitely meeting people online is one of the things you should think about. I am not a big fan of dating sites. That doesn't mean it doesn't work. I don't like where people gather just to date, because a lot of predators are going to be there. A lot of people that are not, your kind of people will be there, because all of you, seems everybody's trying to get someone. But what I would say, be active on pages that would normally interest you. So, like this kind of a program now, if you're active on a program like this, you are likely to meet somebody of like mind. All right? So be active in things like that. So that's just how it is. So it's like the same way with real life. Today's Friday night. There's some people in a pub right now, but there's some people in church right now. So it's the same thing with real life. So avoid being on the kind of sites or pages that do not edify, and be active. I actually have a YouTube video titled 7 Mistakes Singles Make Online. So not posting is a big mistake. Many singles are online just as consumers. You need to post. So if you are at this event, you must take a picture, post that you are Tab London, link up. You'll be amazed at there are even people that are in this same meeting that you didn't speak with, but when you tag them or tag the event or something, they will get to see it. All right? I have one of my daughters in the Lord that is in the US, is married today. How did she get married? One of the big gospel artists came to her church in America, ministered in her church. She just videoed it the way we all do, and she put it on her story and tagged the music minister. The music minister later reposted that video on her own story, and a guy that follows that music minister saw the post. I'm like, who was the first person that posted this thing? Went to her page, saw her page. They found out they both live in the same state in the US. Today they are married with a child. They met on the story. So post your picture. Tag Tab London. Tag the link up. So post your picture. If you are single, your page cannot be on private. Cannot be on private. All right? People want to check you out. Even job employers today check your social media. Absolutely. I hope you know that.
Absolutely.
Embassies check your social media. So it's a thing. We've gone past the stage of considering social. It's a thing today. So you just have to moderate it and use it wisely.
Be careful what you post.
Careful, yes. Use it. Be careful what you post. So if you are, for instance,
silhouette challenge.
Yes. If you're a doctor, post something else other than medical stuff. Let's know you have an interesting life. Let's know you have interest other than just your job. If you're a church girl, don't only post when you're in church. When you go on picnics, when you go watch a movie, let's know you have a life. You'll be amazed, how those things can go. Post your fun self. If you read a book, post something you learned from the book. All right? It mustn't just be just your picture all the time. All right? If you have an intriguing mind, an interesting mind, share stuff with us. But be active online, definitely. But just manage it. I'm not a fan of going online just to look for a partner. But I see online as church. We come to church because of Christ, but it's a good place to meet.
Very true.
To meet someone.
Very true. Be wise about what you post. It's a marketing. It's your own brand. It's your own marketing, especially ladies. So some of the we're Christians. We're Christians, okay? So some of the cultural, viral challenges, just be wise about what you post, because you're marketing. If you're marketing sex, you'll only get guys who are interested in sex. So you've got to ask yourselves what you're marketing. But coming back to your point, your primary point, I can count maybe at least 8, maybe 8 couples in our church who met. You good, Mike? Yeah.
Someone wanted to ask another question, but
okay.
I know time.
Yeah, about 8 couples in our church I know of, probably far more than that, who met on a dating site.
Okay.
Right now. I know of 8 couples in who are members of our church is like just over 2,500 members, and I'm sure there's far more that met online as well. But I know of at least 8, so it does work. It does work. But you just, as Pastor Kingsley was saying, you just got to be wise with it.
Okay, so once you're in the marriage, do you need to kind of reel yourself back in terms of
from dating sites?
No, of course.
From
in terms of, because on these social media apps, anything can pop up. Do you see what I'm saying? And I think, you know,
100%.
Guarding the eye and that.
100%. If you want a healthy relationship, and not to allow distractions to come in to hijack your attention and lead into something that's inappropriate, then absolutely. Okay. As you would also guard your relationships at work.
Yes, physically.
In the office. 100%. You know, one of the challenges, an interesting question you asked there, Mike, because one of the challenges I find is that some people get married and try and remain single. And that creates a tension where there's going to have to be change. Look at the silence. Nobody wants to change. Everybody wants to get married and not change. But you do have to change. You have to respect boundaries. You have to respect your partner, your husband or wife, and be wise and be appropriate with certain relationships. Absolutely. And that goes also to how you operate online. 100%. If the person wants a healthy relationship. Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mike.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, guys.
Bless you.
My name's Ebbs.
Hey, Ebbs.
Hi, guys. So just a bit of a vulnerability question.
Sure.
How or what would you advise for a woman who is single and their love language is physical touch, and you're in between the phase of, you're in the dating phase, right? So actually, no, you're single and dating, but you're not in a relationship, and your love language is physical touch. How do you navigate that as a woman or man in terms of, just having that masculine, sometimes desiring that masculine energy, or sometimes wanting to be embraced by a man, but not having that access because you're not dating right now?
Okay, thank you for the question, Ebbs. It's a question about women, first of all, so I'm going to allow Pastor Mildred to address that first. Go ahead, Pastor.
Pastor Mildred has no clue.
So,
I have no idea.
Sorry, can you just explain again? You're not dating.
So what I'm saying is, you're single.
Yeah.
And you want to date and you want to be in a relationship, and your love language is physical touch. So, but sometimes you desire to be embraced by a man or be with a man, but you're not in a relationship to have that access. So my question is, how do you navigate that desire without being intimate with someone, or the desire to have sex is there, but it's not, you just want to be held, or you want to be embraced, but you're not in that space or relationship to have that access.
So it's kind of similar to what the other lady was asking at the time where you're not in a relationship, and obviously even if you were dating, you wouldn't necessarily be always hugging up anyway. I would say swim, that's my go-to. I'm just saying that. I know you said that, you know, people may laugh at that.
Exercise.
Whatever kind of
Workout.
exercise works for you. But obviously, you know, at the end of the day, you still want that physical touch. So it's the same answer as we gave the other lady, in the sense that you need to find other ways to release whatever that feeling is. And I know that's easier said than done, because obviously, who doesn't want to be hugged? I mean, it's not just a man-woman thing. Some people just, you know, at work, you know, somebody's having a bad day and they need a hug. Do you get what I mean? I know yours is slightly different, because you're talking about you'd like to be hugged by somebody, a man.
Yeah.
You know, so what was it like when you were dating? What you were being hugged?
Yeah.
No, I'm just trying to, because yeah.
No, so I think, so what I'm kind of, I think that what I'm trying to attribute here is when you're single and you desire companionship, but the companion hasn't come yet, right? Yeah. How do you navigate connection, relationships with men, or like wanting that kind of physical connection with men, but they're actually not there. You don't have access to that yet.
Yeah, let me just address that. It's very simple. It's the same way you will do it even if you were married and your husband travels for 6 months or 1 year. How would you handle it?
Okay.
How would you handle it?
Oh. I'm not,
Or
I'm
is
not
it
sure,
the military?
But yeah, I think I'd like, activity, spending time with friends, that kind of thing.
Same thing. Same thing.
Okay.
There's no special discipline for single people, separate for that for married people. You will still need discipline. You will still need self-restraint, no matter, you know, how old you are or whether you're single or married. So your desire is valid, but you have to wait. It's like being hungry and saying, because I can't wait for lunchtime, I'm going to eat from the rubbish bin.
That's something.
All right? If you are hungry and there's nothing legitimate for you to eat, you are going to wait. That's all that is going to happen. You are going to wait. And even when you get married, your husband will travel, your husband might be out of town, and you feel like getting hugged. What are you going to do? You're going to wait. That's what you're going to do. All right?
There's a lot of military families that we counsel who are in that same situation. A lot of military wives who have had to learn that discipline as well when their husband's on tour for 6 months in Iraq or somewhere, Afghanistan, and we've had to counsel them with that, and it's the same situation. So it goes back to what we were saying earlier about this is dress rehearsal, Pastor Kingsley's point.
Okay.
Single days.
Okay.
Right. We got one more response I can feel over here.
No, honestly, I don't know if that's what she's asking. I don't feel like we've answered her question.
Yeah.
And the reason why I said I don't have a clue is because I don't understand what you're asking.
Okay.
And you've tried to explain it to her. I don't know why we're not getting it. Because I don't think what we answered.
I love language is physical touch.
Yeah, but
and you're not in a relationship that can offer that right now.
But I'm not talking about physical touch sexually. That's not what I'm talking about.
Yes, love language is physical touch is non-sexual. Yes, we're talking about the same thing.
Right.
But you're not in a relationship now that can offer that, right?
No.
Yes, I've answered the question. You wait.
So what do you...
I mean, I know what I'm asking, but I also recognize that you understand, like, I know what I'm asking, but it's not in the way that I'm receiving the response.
I feel like you're not giving us all the information.
Sorry?
Like I don't feel like I'm getting all the information from you because the question doesn't seem complete to me. Maybe that's why I don't understand it.
Okay, fair.
And I'm not going to just jump into...
Hold on, guys.
And I'm not trying to just jump into fixing it when I don't get it, right?
No.
So I'm not going to say, because everything they're saying is valid, but I don't think that that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether, like I said, it doesn't feel complete to me. I don't know whether you're asking me if, it's okay for some of my male friends to just hug me when I feel like that, or my dad or my brothers.
Yeah. So I think, okay, so just to be transparent, and so that maybe it's even helpful, I've been single for a while, and my desire is, like, when you haven't been embraced or when you haven't been held for a while, whether that's outside of your family or your friends or whatever, sometimes you just want the energy, like you want to be able to... Sorry?
Like an affection.
Yeah, affection.
In an
Yeah, more so
affectionate way.
affection.
Yeah.
Yeah. But obviously, you're not gonna just go and be receiving that affection from different people. So I'm just asking about how you navigate that desire for affection. I'm not talking about being sexual. I'm talking about being held, like how you, being held or being embraced physically.
So,
Like, I don't know if that's,
So now, I
that's
think-
helpful.
so I think what's complicating it is the fact that you say you want to.
Hey
be-
guys, let's listen to Pastor Mildred, guys.
I think what's complicating the question of why everyone is giving you the answer you're getting is because you're asking that you want to be hugged by a man. Now
Okay.
you can get affection from anyone. Your mom can hug you.
Right.
Your sister
Right.
can hug you.
Right.
Your brothers can hug you if you feel like the woman hug is not firm enough or
Is
it's not
that the kind of hug
healing
she's talking
enough.
about?
She's saying
Are you talking about
affection.
the Pastor
It's
Donna kind of
non-sexual.
hug? Pastor Donna can hug you kind of thing? Is that what you're talking about?
No,
That's not
so,
what she-
so
Go ahead.
So, so I think I'm just talking about where when you're struggling to receive affection and it looks like it needs to come from a man, or it looks like you need to be held, like it feels like it needs to come from those sources, but you kind of don't know how to navigate that in your singleness.
Okay, so I don't think, what I think you need is to sit down with someone and have this conversation.
Okay,
So
fair.
that way you are a bit more vulnerable. Because I feel like you're not giving all the information you can publicly, so we can't help, we can't really help you. I honestly don't know if what we've said to you here has helped you, because I see you struggling. That's not really what I'm saying. But we can't help you because you can't give me everything I need. I need to ask you a few more questions. And so I feel like you need to sit with someone and have this as a proper conversation.
Okay.
Okay, but what I think she said is that her love language is physical touch, right?
Oh my days. Yes.
It's physical touch. And is yes, if you know about the 5 love languages, the physical touch there is non-sexual. But you want to be hugged, you want to be held. But this hugged and held is not the type that the sister sitting next to you can give you.
Right.
Yeah, so what don't we understand in that? I think that's pretty straightforward to me. I understand that.
Ebbs, listen.
I understand that.
Ebbs, thank you so much for the question. And here's what we're going to do for you. We're going to have a private conversation afterwards. Just for you, darling. All right? You're in a safe space. We love you. All right, gang. You've got one more mixer. And then you all are supposed to get out of the church and hang out a little bit. So I'm going to hand back over to anybody glad they came tonight? If you are, clap your hands loud and wonderful.